Okay, so yes, I think last time when we stopped, we were not able to create the session and the workflow object because we were not able to make the connection together. So let me open the designer client. I think assignment part, if you have not yet done, that is still fine, because today when I will show you the session creation and the workflow execution, I think that will make a logical chunk together which you can execute as a whole maybe after today's class. So I think in demo folder we have created this mapping, and I just recalling this because I also didn't recall where exactly we stopped. So just stop me if you find it whether I'm going in the right way or not. So last time what we have done was we have created our own source. So I think we created this test table 1 with having 2 columns, and we created the same schema in test table t underscore test table 1, which is the target definition, and we executed the SQL from directly by from this uh, designer, target designer, and we used the generate and execute SQL, and that's the way we created the actual target schema in the target database. Then we came to this mapping designer, and in mapping designer we just created a as is kind of mapping where whatever columns or ports are there in the source definition, we passed it to the source qualifier mapping, and the source qualifier mapping is then mapped to the target definition. So this is what we had done in our last class. I think another thing which we did was I showed you how to see the data. So in the preview data section, since our execution was not done correctly, so that's the why I still should not able to see any data in this column. So I just seeing that. So our username is target and password is also target. So there is no data as of now. This means our execution of workflow has not yet done. Then we went in the workflow manager. And in this workflow manager, so if you guys remember, in this workflow manager, we created this session task, and we pulled the same session task in the workflow, and the workflow is something like this. After the start, it will straight away execute this session task, and at this point I was talking about the properties over this session. So properties over this session can be achieved directly by double clicking this session object. Here you can see the properties. and the same properties can be changed on the workflow designer when you double click this session task here. Now, so now on this task edit pop-up, we were talking about few of the important properties or few of the important configurations which we should do, and we can take it as a thumb rule. We can do it for every task. Whenever there is any change, we have to just go and modify that. So the first thing is you should check this fail parent if the task fails. The significance of this is whenever a workflow is executing, workflow as a whole is nothing. It's a combination of tasks. If you remember the explanation which we spoke last time when we were defining workflow, we talked about that it's a set of tasks. So whenever a single task fails, we we actually want to fail the parent workflow altogether. So that's the reason I recommend you to check this particular configuration. Then when you come here, you see this write backward compatible session log file. Just check this thing on. Whatever you make the changes, you will see that you are overriding the actual system behavior. So this signifies that you will get a readable log file. Otherwise you will get the log file in a binary format. So you should check this thing on. Now we were stopped at this point. So if you remember, when I was trying to give you a source connection value, I was not able to select or the new connection here. So new connection actually is not allowed when you are actually uh, setting a session task. If you want to add a new connection, I will just apply this two configuration what I have done so far. For connection object, I have to come here in connection pull down menu and select a relational connection object here. I'm selecting a relational object because my session task responsibility is to push the data into a Oracle based target database. So I will create the new connection here. Guys, can you just say hi or hello to me, because I will just ensure that whether you are able to listen me and still speak to me as part of any question.
Hey, hello.
Yes, great, thank you. So I'm creating a new connection object here. The connection object need to be a Oracle type, so I am selecting the subtype as Oracle, selecting OK. So now it will give me which target I need to connect. So let's say I want to give, or I want to name my connection as, let's say, target. Or first let me connect the source connection because I have to pull the data as well. So I will create the source. Username is source. Uh, Password is source. Connect string for me, the from the TNS, I know the domain name for my Oracle is Oracle. This is the code page because you can select what type of character set you want to select. I am keeping it as the default one, but generally you should select this UTF-8 kind of thing. In the newer days, people are also going with the UTF-16 encoding, which is supporting uh, some newer characters as well, because right now in this social networking world, many times you are getting new emotional characters, emotions we call it. So those emotions are not supported in UTF-8 encoding character set. For example, the devil sign and all those things. So for that, UTF-16 encoding is recommended because it has a much wider scope of Unicode character set. So either UTF-8, which is still a best practice based on the data, but if you are working with some social networking or some external web services, UTF-16 is also recommended. There is a UTF-8 and on top of it there is a patch, I think M8 or M16, which supports majority of the emotions, but I'm just giving you for your knowledge sake I'm telling this thing. So I'm keeping it as is, the code page, and then I'm selecting OK. So now you can see that in Oracle I got this source as a new connection object. Similarly, I will create another Oracle connection for target. I will name it as target. Username is also target. Password is also target. Connect string is Oracle. Code page I'm keeping it as is. Whatever is default is there. I'm selecting OK. So once you see I have these two connection object available, I will close this. Now in this session task, when I come back, I can see that the first selection is there. On properties, my backward compatible session log file is still there. This is the important thing, to connect my task so that it can connect the source via the source connection value and pull the data to the Informatica system. So for that I have to give this connection here. So if you see, I'm giving the connection of for source now. So I'm selecting source. For target I'm selecting the target and I'm selecting OK. So if you see, this also refers some environment variables. So for example, if you see this session log file directory, it is pointing to some $pm session log dir. So this is nothing but a environment variable which comes along with the Informatica installation, and the location for this is let me show you that first. I think all the installation for this VM are done on the C drive Informatica. I think it will be in the server side. So this is the place where it will be there, infra shared, and there will be a session logs. So all the session logs what I was showing you here in the Informatica session object, this PM session log dir, this is nothing but this particular location. So whenever my installation is done, uh, I have to give these extra information while installation, and system picks that as the value for this environment variable. Similarly, in this example you can see the this I have given of my own the connection object, but it is getting set to $source, and similarly for target connection it is getting set to $target. So any other place where I need to use the similar source and target, I can use the reference of $source or $target, because the same value I have given it once. This is a good practice. The reason is, if you want to give, for example, in this mapping we need to give the configuration for source and the target. So in this source, you can see in the type it is by default relational, because that is how my source definition was pulled from the source database, and the source qualifier automatically gets the column definition from that. But the value by default, it is one of the old connection object which I was using for my other classes, but I will overwrite it with either source, or I can use the connection variable. So here if I come and if I want to use the variable, I should give it like this $source. This will ensure that I am not making any mistake. Whatever $source value I have given on the first screen, I am using it as is. Or if you wish, you can directly use the object that is the source object. So this is just I'm giving you a best practice point of view. I will come back again to this properties tab. So I have spoke about this $source and $target. Keep all these other things as is default. We will talk about the significance of each when we speak about session object. Right now, my main intention is to show you the workflow. The next item which you should actually configure is this session, save session by log. So session runs. Now you have to increase this by, let's say, some generic value, maybe 3 or 5, considering your uh, execution time. So for example, if I do not override this value and keep it as 0, this means only one session file will get logged in my session log directory. So if you see in my session log directory, I have only one file as a session log file. One is the binary file and another is the readable file of the same binary file. The reason was I was not having that set to any other value. I have kept it as 0 only. So since it was 0, only one log file, that is the last execution log file, will be here. But if you want to keep more log files, you have to override this value. So I'm keeping it as 3. Uh, Stop on errors. So the significance of this is whenever there is any error, either you can stop the task or you can proceed this task uh, with that error altogether. So generally this value I should make it as 1, because for any error I would like to stop the task then and there. Then in the mapping, this is again an important thing which I showed you earlier, the relational DB connection. And in the values section, nothing to be changed in source qualifier, because it's again a kind of mapping, internal mapping within Informatica. In target, I have to change the target DB connection, so I will use this target connection which I have given. Target load type, again there are options for bulk and normal. So bulk upload means you are uploading all the data in one shot, means you though are making a transactional inserts, but the commit will happen at the end, means after all the inserts have happened, then you are making the commit on the target database. So these are the two target load type that you can do. I generally prefer normal in my majority of the session tasks. The reason is I don't want to keep the lock on the target database for a longer period. So whenever you are having the data, go on pushing it to the target database. So that is why I make it as normal. There is an option called truncate table, target table option. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you explain the bulk. Basically, the commit happens at the last. So in normal, the commit happens after a certain threshold, or hello?
Hello. So your question is, there is a certain threshold when the bulk inserts will
No,
happen?
you explain. Yeah, the thing is, you explain the bulk load,
Yes.
and the key thing is the commit happens at the end of the. For example, there are 10 million rows. Once the 10 million rows get inserted, and then the commit happens. What happens in the normal? So in the normal, it happens after, like, suppose 10 rows or 15 rows after a certain threshold, or there is what kind of a mechanism?
So it's, if I keep only normal without any other configuration, it will go row by row. On every transaction, it will make the commits.
Got it. Okay.
I think I have lost the connection of my service. So let me just save this. I think I will have to restart this designer because my connection is showing red mark over here. Session has expired. Just a minute. Let me restart this. Both the services are up.
Just quick question.
Go ahead.
So this the configuration that you were just doing for the connection between source and target, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just do that in the workflow manager. You just define the source and the target. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean, you discussed that in the last video, but I did not watch the video.
Yeah. So basically, the the responsibility of designer is just to ensure the source definition and sources are available, target definition and targets are available, and I have a mapping or the transformation logic created within my mapping designer. So this is only the territory of your designer. Now once your mapping is intact, now I move on to the workflow manager, which is another client. In this workflow manager, we create the task which I need to perform within my workflow, and session task is one type of task. So once I have that session task, which I have to create in workflow manager, so that is what I was showing you here in this task developer. I created this session task. Once the session task is available in workflow designer, this is the set of tasks. So here I just pulled one of the session tasks which I have created and drag dropped it to this workflow designer. This gives me this simple workflow, which is nothing but start. After start, it will execute the session task which I am right now showing you, and every session task have its own property. So this session task is the actual task which is responsible to pull the data from the source, execute the integration service. When it will execute the integration service, it will actually pull the physical data from the source database, put it in the Informatica source definition or the metadata table, and then once the data is available, it will execute all the tasks, all the mapping or all the transformation logic which is sitting within this session task, which we have defined in the designer. So that is the uh, that is the actual uh, responsibility of the session task. This session task itself will load the data in the target database as well. So for us, our target is nothing but the actual target database which is sitting outside my Informatica logic, and that is why I am giving the connection target object as the physical DB connection to the target database.
All right, great, thanks.
Okay, so I think I have not saved it. That is why it is still showing me those old things are not there. So let me again set these things, because last time those session connectivity issue I got. I hope my connection objects are there. So I am giving the source and the target. And you were asking about the commit interval between the normal and the bulk operation which was there. So again, that is governed by this commit interval. You can see that these are the commit interval. These many rows I generally go and do the commits. So if I make it 1, it will be 1 commit per row, or if I make it 1000, then the commit will happen in the 1000 in the batch of thousands. So I'm not.
And that is for normal, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And now I will just jump into the other definitions. I have changed this session runs as well. So I'm giving you the basic properties which you should change every time when you create a session object. Again, in the if there is already a table created and data is available, this option will ensure that it will go and truncate that table and upload the data freshly. Components, though you do not have to do, but just for your information, these are the places where you want to execute some of your custom commands or custom scripts as a pre or post session activity. Those things you can configure here. Even the email notifications can be configured at this point if you have your email server configured along with the Informatica. You can go and make those configuration here. And metadata extension is nothing but the extra metadata if you have in your transformation logic. Those values can be edited here. So we will talk about this when we come to this point. For now, my main intention is to show you how the workflow execution happen. So I will go and click OK, and every time I make any change I have to save this, because unless and until it gets saved in the repository, I will not be able to leverage it. So now you can see all these properties are available. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to execute this. Before the execution, let me quickly go in the target database. Anyway, we have seen the target database is empty via the designer, but I will just see it on the Oracle window as well. So I think I have only one table, yes. So I will just, so I have no data available here. So now I will go to this Power Center workflow designer and just say right click and say start the workflow. So this execution will start the workflow which right now I am highlighting in my workflow designer. So when I select this, since let me show you another thing is you can do the same thing from the start workflow as well. In this, these are nothing but the workflow specific properties which you can actually give when you are creating a workflow for the very first time. So if you remember last time we created this workflow, so I have not changed anything. I have kept it all as default. Now I am executing the workflow. So I clicked on start workflow. On start of the workflow, by default this workflow monitor opens. So this is the other uh, client which we can see. Now you can see actually that this is my session task, and again it has two type of views, Gantt chart view and the task view. Right now I am showing it on the Gantt chart view. Here you can see that the session task, which is the leaf level component, which is the actual crux of our workflow, so it is succeeded. This succeeds means the workflow is succeeded, because if you remember I have mentioned that fail the parent if the task is failing. There is one property over there on the first screen. So that is actually governing whether to pass this workflow based on the pass or fail of the task within it. So since there is only one session task, it passed. That is why this workflow passed, and that is why the actual integration service, which is this, is connected, and it is showing that it actually succeeded the workflow. So that is what it is showing here. Same thing is available in the task view as well. In this task view, you can see this navigation pane. This is the same navigation pane which we see in the workflow designer. And in this editorial section, we can see that there is a workflow, and this workflow has one session object, and the status of this session task is succeeded. So this is how we can see the operation of these workflow in two different format. The important thing is if there is any log or anything, you can right click on this session, whatever is failing. Let's say in your workflow there are multiple tasks and one of the tasks got failed. So the first thing is to select this task here, do a right click and say get the session log. So it will open that session log from this location. If you remember, we have selected as 3. Now this s underscore test table 1 dot log got created freshly. Earlier it was only the first one which I had from my other session. So this log got created. If I would not have selected the backward compatible log file, I would only get this binary log file, and it becomes difficult to analyze this. So that is why I selected that backward compatible log file, which brought this log file as well. And reading this log file, this UI is fetching all these information. So this is nothing but parsing that log file and bringing this information to you. So any issue means there will be a severity. So for now everything is info. If there was any error or warning, you could have sorted based on this severity column and see what message it is giving you and what is the message code and all those things. So based on this you can actually troubleshoot uh, your workflow or the session task. Many a times this message may not be giving you all the exact information, so you just have to use this message code and do some googling, and Google will help you to trace down what action you need to take if you are not understanding via the message. Generally the message will exactly pinpoint what the problem you are having, but if you are not able to identify the root cause, you should be able to do the Google based on this message code. Great. So now let's see if my data is now available here or not. So for that I will again go in this table. Now you can see that I have three data over here. The same thing I can go in this Informatica designer, and I can go in this target designer. In this target I can see the data by saying the preview of data. It's the target database. I think I have given some wrong thing. So now you can see this database was empty earlier. Now I have the three data. Whatever is there in my source, I have the same data which was pulled by the Informatica and loaded on the target database. So any questions so far, or this looks good to you guys?
Um, I have a question.
Yeah,
It's probably an easy question for the other guys, but I have to ask.
no
Can you
problem. Go
go
ahead.
back to the SQL? Can you go back to the SQL prompt?
Okay.
Can you? I mean, when you say select table name from user table, so you are looking for the table.
Yes, so this command is majorly because if you remember this SQL prompt I opened only for the target user. Target is nothing but
Yes.
one of the user, and this command will restrict the select clause for only that user's table. So it will only fetch the table owned by that user. So for now
Okay.
I have only one table in this database.
And then you have select count star from test test underscore table one.
Mhm.
Is that okay? So it's just pointing to that table, right?
Yes, so in this
Okay,
case I'm
I
just
got it now.
okay, great.
Thank you.
Any further question? Okay, so I will move on. Anybody has any question?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so now I will move on to I think let me show the agenda which we were driving last time. So okay, so this was the two remaining thing in our last class which we were talking. We also spoke about this in important session properties today. Now I will move on to the transformation part. That is the crux of your Informatica. So working with in transformation is nothing but whenever we talk about source, ETL is nothing but source, then a set of transformation and the target. And this set of transformation is the crux of the entire ETL job. So when I talk about transformation, I generally mean it is something like this. So transformation is a part of your mapping that generates or modifies the data. So that is how I define transformation is a part of mapping that generates or modifies data. So when I say its major intention is since it's a part of mapping and it generates or modify the data as you require. So its responsibility is not to pull the data from source or not to load it on the target. Its only in whole sole purpose is to generate or modify the data. And there are hell lot of different type of transformation which we will talk about, and maybe uh, important thing we will start with today as an aggregator, expression and lookup transformation. So these are the three things which I intend to show you today. Transformation type, when we talk, there are almost huge set of transformation, almost near to 25 transformations are there, and they are day in day out growing. Based on your type of license which you are holding, you may get some more transformations as well, because transformations are nothing but pluggable component which comes along with Informatica installation. So important transformation are, which we will see in our examples, are some as you have seen this aggregator transformation. So this is one important transformation, and this performs the any kind of aggregation calculation. For example, if you want to say the sum of all or maximum of all this value or minimum of all this value, so these kind of aggregation type of calculation are performed by the aggregator transformation. Then we also have a expression transformation. This calculates the value. So expression transformation is, you have to define based on the value of a certain column within your source or your input data source. So this actually calculates the value based on your own input. So you will have to give the conditions for that. So that is what the expression transformation is. Then we also have a lookup transformation, and lookup transformation's major significance is it looks up and returns the value from a relational table or a file based on the type of your input to that lookup transformation. So it goes, looks up and returns the value from the table or a flat file. Then we will talk about, so these are the three important things which we will use always. Then we have a custom kind of transformation. Custom transformation calls the procedure of your own or a shared library or a DLL. Means this is the way you can actually make a call to your own codeful way of transformation. So you may write your own logic of code, and you want to use that code, then you will use the custom transformation. Then you have a filter transformation as well. So this actually do a filter of data. So in coding practice, you may have encountered switch case kind of statement or if else then else kind of statement. So these are nothing but the conditions to make a certain decision. So filter transformation is similar to that. So this do a filter based on a certain condition, certain switch case or a if then else condition. So that is one type of transformation, filter transformation. Then we have a joiner transformation. When we talk about joiner transformation, it is its whole responsibility is to join the data from different databases or flat file. So if you remember, Hussam was asking a question last time that if I have two different data sources, how I will use transformation. So in this case, since both the data are available in my Informatica in form of source qualifier, I can use a joiner transformation to pull the data from these two source qualifier and use the data from two different database sources. So that is the responsibility of this. Then we have a rank transformation. Rank transformation limits the record to either top to bottom or bottom to top kind of ranges. Maybe there can be a salary column and you may have a report need where you want to say the based on your salary ranges you want to distinguish all the employees data. So for that you will have to use this rank transformation. Then we have a router transformation. So router transformation routes the data into multiple transformation. So there can be a situation that you have multiple transformation and the source of data is one, but you will need to massage that data in X format, send it to transformation 1, in Y format, then send it to transformation Y. So in this kind of situation, you need a router transformation. Then there is a sorter transformation. Sorter transformation means again it will do a sorting of your data based on some key value, and that key is a configurable thing. So you just pass that key and it will do a sorting based on that. Then we also spoke about one of the transformation in our exercise which we did, that is the source qualifier. Source qualifier is a default transformation which comes always for any mapping. So this is also a kind of transformation. Then we have a union transformation. When we talk about union transformation, this actually merges the data from multiple databases or flat file system, and after merging it will pass it to the subsequent transformation. Then we have something called stored procedures are there. So stored procedure transformation calls the stored procedures stored in your system. Then we have something called update strategy. Update strategy determines whether to insert or delete or update or reject the record. So these kind of decision making is done using the update strategy transformation. And another important thing is XML source
Yeah.
qualifier. Yes.
I have one question regarding to the stored procedure.
Yeah.
So the stored procedure transformation is basically dependent on the source system or the target
Uh,
platform.
okay. So when you talk about the source or the target which is out of Informatica's territory, my answer will be it is not dependent on these two system. It could be even
Okay.
a some intermediate table which your transformation is populating, and maybe for that you need a stored procedure. So it is not dependent on actually source and target which is out of the Informatica's territory.
All right. So you said that you can use the native stored procedures or defined stored procedures which are already. So those stored procedures can be written in PL SQL or T SQL or maybe in DB2 or something.
Yes.
So it can work. So either of all of them, all platforms can work.
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
it depends on the type of your need, at what point you would like to use those stored procedure, then this stored procedure transformations comes in picture.
I see. So far I'm good. So what I need, I get it.
Okay. And then the important transformation is XML source qualifier. So this actually represents the rows that the integration service can read from the XML source. So every XML has different nodes or different tags we call, and this XML source qualifier treats that XML file, and the integration service reads those XML nodes and treat them as different ports so that it can run in a workflow. So that is the importance of XML source qualifier. I think many of you are using majorly this XML source qualifier, which we will talk in our subsequent classes. So these are the important type of transformations which are majorly used in any industry. Apart from that, there are um, other kind of transformations as well, which we will as and when it will come, we will talk. For now, my major intention is to cover these three for today. At least if not these three, at least one of that we will cover today, and then we will touch base on all these type of transformations. So let's take the use of the sample data which we have uploaded in our source database last time. If you remember, we have all these customer, department, distributor. So these all are our source database. So if you remember, we have already created the placeholder for this. Again, placeholder means the metadata I have created within the repository. So let's see how this database looks like. So maybe I will try to put it in a right fashion where you can see how the informations are present there. So maybe let me say that this department should be an independent table. Yes, it's an independent table. So again, this is just a RDBMS table, so it's not a data warehouse where you will see a fact and dimension kind of table.
And again, quick question.
Go ahead.
The last session that you did the task, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the workflow manager. So the three rows example.
Mm-hmm.
Did we so we uh, did we load the data and target an outside system, or was it inside?
It was outside. Means the example which I
Okay.
showed, this was
Oh, okay.
outside Informatica.
Okay, so it was just a high level example. There was no transformation, right?
There was only one transformation, that is source qualifier, because source qualifier is also a transformation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so item. So I'm just trying to put it in the way that you should understand what the data are there. So just bear with me for a couple of minutes. Okay, manufacturer. Jobs are done. There is orders, correct? So order. So you can see the data. It's something like this. You are running a product company where you are building the items, and these items you are selling outside. So it's something like this, that you have a employee table. So employee are no one but the guys who are actually working on creating the items for you in your company. So employee table contains this job ID, because what kind of job he is creating. So for that there is a job table altogether, which is having ID and description. Apart from the employee details present in this table, this only has a foreign key to the job table. Then the customer table. So customers are no one but the actual guys who are purchasing the items from you. So it is having primary key for customer ID. So every customer which is coming to your company, you are giving bill to him. So you are registering his details against a customer ID. Along with that, you have the customer data or the customer details. Then you have the items, which the actual product of your organization, and this product has its own unique item ID. Then few of the item details are there. Also there is a chance that you are either constructing that item altogether in your in-house plant, or you are getting it from some manufacturer. So the manufacturer ID is one foreign key which is referencing to the manufacturer table, which has a manufacturer ID and the manufacturer's name. It also have a distributor ID detail table. So distributor ID means via which distributor you are selling that product kind of detail. So this is foreign key referencing to the distributor table. Then comes order table. So order table are nothing but the actual order which is coming from the customer for your own items. So which is having a order ID. There are some order details, because which date is entered, what is the date promised, all these data with respect to order. And there is a employee ID associated with that order, because some employee need to satisfy that order. So that is why order employee ID is foreign key reference to employee table. Then the customer ID, which customer has given that order. So that kind of data is available in this order table. And there is a foreign key to store ID. So this is pointing to a store table where the actually this order is being placed and the item need to be procured to. Then there is something called items in promotion, because there can be a situation where based on some event going on, maybe a World Cup season is going on, and that time you will give some promotional event. So for that you have item in promotion. So which item you are putting under promotion, promotion ID, and there are some comments along with the discount value. Then this is the actual promotion table, which is having the promotion ID as primary key and the details of that promotion. Then we have a order item. So this order item is nothing but the detail of my order. So orders detail is coming from the order item, which is having order ID, item ID, what is the quantity I am going to avail, and the discount. So if there is any bulk order, the discount can vary. So those detail can be captured in this order item table. So this is how my source data looks like, and I have all this data available in my source database, because if you remember, we pulled all this data from our sample SQL file coming with the Informatica installation, and I have pulled those data in my source qualifier. Now my next task is to get, means we have to first understand what problem we are going to address, and then based on that we will react. That means we will create the target definition and we will create the mapping as we require. So the task which we are going to do here is we have to create a target definition based on the problem statement. We will use the mapping and we will use the workflow manager to create the task and execute it. So what exact definition we are going to do here is we are supposed to get the name of all the manufacturer, number one. Let me write it so that you can remember that. So understand the requirement here. I'm writing this. So I think we have understood the source data model now. Now I'm jumping to the requirement where we will talk what exactly we need to do here. So we have to find name of all manufacturer. So here I can give some where clause kind of requirements. Examples are having maximum sale, or maybe top based on items delivered. So these are the kind of where clause we can ask ourselves, or we can get it from the actual requirement. So major requirement is find the name of all manufacturers. All these where clause can get fitted whenever we create the transformations. Then our next expectation is to calculate the maximum and minimum. Maybe I would say maximum and average price of each item. And maybe I would enhance my requirement saying price of items from each manufacturers. And then let me add another requirement which will say that calculate the average profit of items based on the average price. So these are the three requirements I am putting to you guys. So any question on this requirement? Okay, so once I have this requirement in front of you along with the source database which we have pulled in the source designer, which I explained to you, now the next step is I need to address these three requirements in a step-by-step manner. So for that, first try to understand how the target database will look like. Means uh, that is the way you should start thinking or start developing your thought process, that okay, I got the source data available, these are my requirement, but instead of directly jumping onto the transformation, first define the target. So target definition is the important thing which you have to do immediately after you get the requirement. So creating the target definition for our this requirement, let's say I have to get all these data into a single table, and from that single table I should be able to get these three reports and send to the sent to the right stakeholder. That could be one way of approaching the problem, or the other way is I can address all these three problems, load the data in three different table, and I will ask the downstream stakeholder to fetch the report from these three tables. So this could be the kind of thought process you can have, and both are correct, so there is no problem in that. But only thing is, if you go and create three different table, you are opening a maintenance overhead kind of thing, because you are going to create multiple table. That means you have to give three different queries to the downstream stakeholder, so that they can get the report in that way. So there is a maintenance overhead plus education overhead, so that people in the working in the downstream side need to understand the schema of your target database. So for now, the way I am doing it is I'm going to create one table which will satisfy all these things. So I am opening a target designer. So the way I want is, I would like to what is my first question? Let me see that. What is my first question? So find the name of all manufacturers. So manufacturers means I need to anyway have a manufacturer table with me. So instead of creating that completely new, I am dragging dropping the source manufacturers table into the target. So you can see I have a target definition which is having a manufacturer ID and manufacturer name available to me. So uh, for the very first time, what I need to do is I cannot keep the same name, otherwise I myself will get confused. So let me change the name of this table. So maybe I will name it something like, renaming it to maybe target underscore uh, maybe some summary, or maybe item summary detail. So this is the name I am giving to my table. I don't want to change the or database type. I will keep it as Oracle. If you want, you can change it to some other databases as well. I'm selecting OK. Now you can see the table definition in my target designer is changed to what I have renamed now. Now what I am going to do is, here in this, if you select double click, you can see the column name data, and these column names and the data type names are coming as is from what I have drag dropped to the from the source to the target. So that is the same thing I can see here. So this is same as what my manufacturer source definition was. It is available in the same way. Now here there is a provision to add more columns to this table. So this is for adding a new column. This is for removing a new column. So for now I am adding a few columns, because if you remember, my major intention is here to get this maximum, minimum and average price of item. So to address this, I will add some fields. Let me pull all these fields at the bottom. So these are the three new fields I have added, and let me name these fields as per my own choice. Maybe I will add it as maximum price. Maximum price cannot be varchar 2, so I need to change the value to, let's say, number with precision and scale. Similarly, I will need a minimum price. I will use the same number data type, and the last one is I will give it as average price. Same data type, I am using number precision. Uh, for now, let's keep it little higher precision. Maybe I will use 15 for now. And maybe the scale I can make it to 2. I believe you guys are aware of this precision and scale concept because it comes from the database RDBMS system.
The precision is basically the whole number and scale is basically the fraction part.
That's correct. That's correct.
The fraction part, you said? You mean like the decimal?
Fractional part, yes.
So it's like a floating point, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have created this table definition with these 3 extra columns to it, and maybe if you can see, there is something called not null column. I have kept everything as blank. If I select this, that means I am telling the database that these values can not be null. So uh, that is the way it is designed. Maybe for this manufacturer name I can remove this because ID is the primary key, so that can be a not null value, and manufacturer name I have removed as not null. Now in this indexes tab, so if I need to apply this changes what I have created in the columns. In the indexes tab, I can actually create my own indexes if I wish to, but my target database, since it is Oracle, I can skip this step. The reason is you cannot add any index to a column that already has a primary key in case of Oracle. So in our case, if you see, there is a primary key already there, and I cannot override it with any own indexes. So but if I'm not working with Oracle and you are working with some other databases and you want to have some primary key or some any other key, you can add those key by clicking this add insert indexes, and in this case you can give some name, maybe IDX or some index, let's say primary key on manufacturer ID. So this kind of data you can give in the index name, and in column, on which column you want to apply this index. So for that you get all these values available here. So you would have created this, but for now, since I am working with Oracle, I need not to add this index, so I have deleted it. And once I have created this, I can create this metadata extension as well. So metadata extension is nothing but the extra values which you can provide apart from the actual columns present in the columns tab. So for this example, I am not creating that. I'm clicking on OK. Once that is done, I am saving this target definition. Once I have done this, saving the target definition, now if you remember, I'm still connecting to the target database, and in target database I have only one table still in my database, and that table is test table 1. So now what I will do is I have created this T underscore item summary table. I will select this table and go in target, generate execute file. In this option, if you remember last time we have used only the generate from as all table. Now I will use it from selected table. This means in the background I have selected only one table, so it will only pick the schema based on the target definition of the selected table and will create the SQL and execute that SQL file. That is the significance of this. In this, what I'm right now going to do is I need to connect to the target table. So for that, this is the same what we did earlier as well. I'm connecting to it. So my connection is now established. So this is the file name, if you remember, we have given. So for the new one, my file name need to be changed, otherwise it will override the old SQL file which we had created earlier. So I am naming it as T underscore item summary details dot SQL. So whatever information I am going to create, it will go and create in this SQL file. In the selected table option, in this generation option rather, I will select this create table. I have selected the primary key and create index as well. You can right now get rid of this foreign key and the drop table, because in your case there is no foreign key or you do not have that table already created, so that there is no need to drop the table. But if you want, you can go and select this drop table for the safer side. So that will have a drop table command in the SQL file at the very beginning, so that even if there is any table, you can drop that and then create the table freshly. Now I am clicking on this generate and execute. So before that, let me just copy this location so that we can see that the SQL file as on date is not there for now. As soon as I click on this generate and execute, you can see in this folder I get this new SQL file created, and maybe when I open this, you can see that the drop table command came at the very first line, then the create table, and then the alter table, which is to add this primary key constraint on manufacturer's ID. So these SQL got created and the same got executed on the target database, which is outside the territory of Informatica. Now you can see the item summary detail got created. Let me see the schema for this table. So you can see it has manufacturer ID name, along with that it has this maximum price, minimum price and average price as well. And the not null constraint is only on manufacturer's ID. That is what we have mentioned in the target definition. So far so good.
Good. Go ahead.
Great. So now I have my target table also created. I will close this. Now I'm going to create a mapping. So creating a mapping with the aggregated value. My major intent.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How long will it take for the class? I mean, how long you think you're going to continue?
Do you have any other prior appointment? Because I will take another maybe 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so now my next action is to create the mapping with the aggregated value. And when I say because today my intention is at least to cover one of the uh, transformation. So I will target to finish this aggregator transformation today, and to have this aggregator transformation, let's make the requirement in this way, that I need to find the most expensive and least expensive item in the inventory for each manufacturer. So that is what my let me write this here in case of aggregator transformation. Find most expensive and least expensive item when I say each manufacturer, I need to ensure that whatever manufacturers I have, for every manufacturer I need to get the most expensive and least expensive. That is what the expectation is. And I also need to calculate the average price and profitability of all items. So that is what I need to find out. So maybe I will write it as calculate average price and profitability of all items from a given manufacturer. So for this I need to create a mapping. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to once I have created this, I have already said save repository. In case I have not, select it again, but it will quickly tell you that if you have any change or not. In this case I do not have any further change, that's fine. I am going to the mapping designer. In this mapping designer, I need to create a new mapping. So for that I am selecting a new mapping. I am naming it as maybe m underscore item summary detail. Let me keep this copied in clipboard. So you can see that the new mapping is empty as of now. So now what I'm doing is, from the list of sources, I am just copying the item source definition into the mapping, because this will be one of my source from where I need to fetch the data. So as soon as I drag drop the item database, item source definition, item source qualifier comes by default. Now from the target, I have this item summary detail target which I have created of my own. I will drag drop that as well. So this is my target. So now you can see I have a item database, source qualifier for item, and the target which I have created of my own, that is also available here. Now in between I need to apply some transformation. So for that, first let me save this mapping without any transformation as of now. Now I will add a transformation. So for that, again aggregator transformation I need to use, because here you can see my main intention is to calculate the average price, then to calculate the most expensive and least expensive item. So all these things I can do via the use of aggregator transformation. So that is why I am going to create an aggregator transformation here. So for that, transformation, and click on create. It will give you a list of all transformation. In this, I'm going to use the aggregator transformation. So here the aggregator transformation is there. As a naming convention, all the transformation also have a naming convention. As we saw in the last, I am using T underscore for target definition and M underscore for mapping. For similarly for aggregator transformation, I will use AGG underscore some value, maybe the transformation name. So let's say I am giving the transformation name as, let's say, price calculator. So price calculator, I'm going and creating it. So you can see this empty transformation got created. Now in this empty transformation, what I need to do is I need to so basically there is a way to do this. Maybe if you see that if I select any source qualifier and drag it and drop it to a any transformation, all these things gets created by default, and there is a link got created between all these ports. For now I need not to create it for all these ports, so I am going to delete these columns. Oh, I mistakenly deleted the entire transformation, so I will create the aggregator transformation again with the name called price.
Can control Z work here?
Sorry?
Can control Z work?
Control Z should work. Yes, in this case, let me check that. No, it is not working in case of when I'm dragging dropping a port, it is not working.
Okay.
So I can delete the connection here and I can go and delete this row here. So that is how we will have to do in this case. Continue, yes. So I have made it empty again. And to see this means there is a concept of in this layout pull down menu, there is a link columns and copy columns. So right now the copy column, if you see this actually when you select this link column, when you drag any port from one transformation or source qualifier to any another, the designer actually copies the port along with the link. So if I unselect this and only drag drop this thing, maybe a single port. Here in this case, I think I made a mistake. Let me again delete it and show you. There is another thing called copy columns. So if I say only copy columns and then I drag drop a port here, you can see that the link is not created in this case. This means you don't rely on the system to create the link. You want to create the link of your own. But if you want to do the link as well, you select this link column and then drag drop it here. Now you can see the link is also available. But for now, I will delete both these rows. I just wanted to show you how the feature works, so that's why I showed you. I still have an empty. Any question?
No, that's fair enough.
Okay, so for now my main intention is to pull this price as an input, because if you remember, my output contains maximum of price, minimum of price and average of price. So for that reason I have to pull this price as a port, and once my price is available, I also have to pull the manufacturer ID which is available in my source qualifier. because I have to populate the manufacturer ID and manufacturer name as well. So I'm putting this, I think, just a minute. So I'm putting this manufacturer ID as well. Now after these two data, if I go and double click this, now you can see this price and manufacturer ID are the two ports which are available to me, and the data type is same as I am getting from the source qualifier. Just ensure that I need not, if I don't want to have these IO and V, means input, output, and the local variable kind of thing. So these, both the inputs for me are input variable, so I will keep it as input. If I don't want to keep the output for this, you can deselect this output checkboxes. For now, in my output, there is a concept of manufacturer ID, which is an primary key. So I will go and select this manufacturer ID here as an output variable because I want to push this data to the target. Now, in this, there is a concept of group by column as well. So if you are aware of database or data warehouse, there is a group by clause by which you can group all your queries based on certain column. So in this example, I am doing a group by based on manufacturer ID because majority of my question has the where clause having for a given manufacturer or for each manufacturer. So these things are there in my requirement. So that is why I am doing a group by based on my manufacturer ID. Now I'm going to add 3 columns here. So these 3 columns I will use for my own calculations. So let me add these 3 columns here. So basically, again, means what I was trying to tell you in this manufacturer ID in group by clause, when you select this group by clause, in background what will happen is the integration service which is responsible for picking the data from the input, that could be either source qualifier or any transformation, it will group all the incoming rows based on the manufacturer ID when it runs in the session. So whenever a task will run, it will pull the data based on this group by clause, and it will keep all the data based on the manufacturer ID. That is the significance of this group by clause. Then once I have added these 3 columns, I will need to name them. So maybe these, for me, these are output variables, so I will name it as out underscore maybe min price. Let me name this as max price, and let's say this is my average price. So let's say these are my 3 output variables, so I have to get rid of this input and they need all to be as output variable. Since they are price, so I have to select decimal here. Again, decimal with precision, anything which is more than 15, that is what I will keep here because that is what my target is. So let's say I make it as 19 and 2. Again, this also has to be decimal because it cannot be a string. Decimal 19 and scale as 2. So these are my variables or rather output variables. Nothing is input, so I have deselected every input. For output I have kept everything as yes. None are local variable because I'm not going to use it only for locally for that transformation, so I'm not selecting anything. Now in the expression I need to change the expression for this out minimum price. So whenever you have anything which is not coming from any source, because this is not an input but I need to make it as an output column, I have to mention that what value this should have. So I need to use the expression. So for that, if I click this, you can say, you can see that there are hell lot of functions, ports and variables available. So but for this need, I need to calculate the minimum price. So for this minimum price, what I need to do is here is get rid of this variable name. This is coming automatically. In this aggregate function, there is something called min. Double click this min. So this will have this min function, which is a OOTB function within Informatica. In ports, go in port and see, select that there are two input variables. So for this I need to double click the price one. When I select this price, this means minimum of the price I need to get as an expression for this particular port, which is out min price. Once this expression is available, just validate whether this expression is working fine or not. This will show you the summary of your expression. That is, this is your this is your instance where the port is price, input variable, it is a decimal, and 10 and 2 are the precision and scale. You just have to validate this expression. So it will say that expression passed successfully. So since it's a small one, you can validate it with your naked eyes, but if the expression is huge, you should rely on this validate button. So this will go and systematically do a validation. Say OK. Now you can see the expression is changed to min of price. Similarly, I will do it for max as well. I will get rid of this. In this aggregate, I will say max. If you know, you can directly type the price as well, or you can go and select the price from here. So I will typed it of my own. I validated it and now I said OK. Same thing I will do for the average as well. In the aggregate, select average and select the price, say validate and OK. So now,
Yeah, one small quick question.
yeah,
Like suggestions, like when we do work in formula editors and other tools, like there are suggestions when you type. Like when you type a function like average, is there a suggestion in Informatica or you have to select?
suggestion means what exactly you are trying to say. Means do
For
you,
example,
go ahead.
for example, average function is there. So if I type AV, so AVG suggestion is available in the tooltip or
No. Means if you are referring an ID, for example, Eclipse ID or Visual Studio, where you get all the suggestions by default, uh,
Mhm.
Informatica will not give maybe something like this. Let's get rid of this. Let's say I say AV. It is not giving me
Uh-huh.
AVG by default. I have to
Okay,
type
but if you know the function name, let's put AVG, put
AVG.
AVG.
Yeah, then it will give
Okay,
you
so
the, then it will give you the,
it turns blue. Yeah. So by that, if it turns blue, that means I am writing the appropriate function.
exactly.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So that will give you a fair idea. So now I will just cancel this. Now I have my three values available, rather the three output values which I would like to push in my output table. They are all available. Uh, once I have this data available with me, I just say apply and OK. Now you can see my transformation has 2 input and 3 output, but outputs are not yet connected to my target definition. So before that, let me just save my repository to ensure that I have not missed any data. Now once I have this, I just have to connect this output minimum price, output maximum price and output average price to my target table. So the way I can do it is I can just simply drag and drop it to the corresponding values. For example, minimum price, I need to go and drop it on minimum price. Maximum price, I need to drop it to maximum price. And the average price, I need to drop it to the average price. So this way I can link the stuff. But here if you see my manufacturer ID, which is available in my input transformation, I can directly drag and drop it to my manufacturer ID primary key of my target definition. But manufacturer name, from where I need to pick this thing. So for this, I need to have a lookup kind of transformation. So maybe I will stop here only. I will create the lookup transformation because I have created the target definition considering the lookup transformation as well. So tomorrow we will see how to create the lookup transformation, and then we will execute the workflow based on this mapping. So I will stop today at this point only. Any questions so far?
I'll go ahead.
So I'm saying that I will stop here only. I have saved the repository, and tomorrow we'll create a lookup transformation and within the same mapping, and then use it within our workflow and see how the data flows from using this mapping.
I must say this presentation was very interesting.
Okay, so maybe tomorrow when we will see actual execution, it will make you more interesting because you will actually see the data flow from the source table to the target table. So that we will see tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much.
Just a quick question. So if you save the current like schema, right? So it will schema in the repository. So if you query the target table, it will not provide the results.
As of now, I have not yet executed the query on the actual source database. I'm just creating the mapping, means this is how the mapping should work. Now when I create the actual task, that is the session task within the workflow manager, that time we will create the ODBC connection, and when we will execute, it will make the query and fetch the data.
Okay.
Okay, so if you guys have any question, just spend some time on this recording which I will share with you after today's session, because even if you have missed anything, you can capture it again. If you have any question, shoot me an email, because this is the crux of your Informatica. If you learn this, you will learn everything. Means that is why I am emphasizing you to spend some time. If you have any basic doubt, feel free to ask it.
All right.
Okay, great. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Have a good day indeed.
You guys have a good night. Bye-bye.
All right.